Hey, what's ready? Welcome back to News Dose, and the Game Pass situation continues on because we learned something very interesting today, which kind of tells us one of the main reasons that they raised its price so significantly. And yes, as I've been saying for the past year and a half, this does come from Microsoft's upper management because they are putting more pressure onto the Xbox brand post Activision Blizzard. So stick around and we're going to get into all of that, plus plenty more. First, though, I do want to thank my supporters on Patreon and on YouTube memberships. Thank you just so much for what you do, and you will receive this video through early access. Let's go and get right into things, though, starting off with Digimon Time Stranger. It is now officially out, and it is far bigger than what anybody expected. Yesterday, we talked about how it was topping the bestseller list on Steam, and I mean, that was already a good sign and everything, but even then, I still wasn't expecting what happened to happen, because, I mean, check this out. It actually surpassed 70,000 concurrent players on Steam, and I mean, just to put that into perspective, that means beat out games like Street Fighter 6, Assassin's Creed Shadows, Persona 3 Reload, and the list goes on and on and on. I mean, those are some major games, and Digimon Time Stranger actually has a higher peak high. So this actually makes Digimon one of the biggest Steam launches of 2025, and I really don't believe anybody expected that. So the Digimon franchise truly is having a resurgence right now. I mean, there's also a new anime launching later this month, and I just think all of this is truly amazing. I really do have a soft spot for this series, and that's why I bought this game day one. I want to support this game. That way we, maybe can get some more high-effort Digimon titles in the future. And the fact that it's performing so incredibly well, I mean, that definitely increases the chances that Bandai Namco will do exactly that. Now, its user reviews are also fairly high, with 83% recommending it, and really, most of the negative reviews tends to be complaints about how Bandai Namco dealt with its DLC. So it does kind of sound like they maybe did their fans dirty, but other than that, the game itself, just in terms of gameplay, the story, and things like that, it is being described as an exceptional JRPG. Now, speaking of JRPGs, one of my all-time favorites is Persona 4 Golden. I know there's a lot of newcomers to the Persona franchise thanks to Persona 5, but for me personally, and this is only my opinion, but Persona 4 is peak Persona to me. I think it has better characters, I think it has a better story, and just better atmosphere. Though to be fair, Persona 5 greatly improved on its dungeon design. I say all that though because just given the increased popularity of the Persona series, I'm very excited to see more people get the chance to play Persona 4 when the eventual remake releases. And, well, we got a small update for Persona 4 Revival. Atlus recently said that Persona 4 Revival is shaping up nicely, but it has been a challenge because of the sheer amount of content that it has. And then they also said that, quote-unquote, it's not just about adding more, we have to create an experience that's enjoyable in a new and different way. We are confident that this will be a fresh and surprising product for both newcomers and longtime fans, and we look forward to sharing it with you all. Now, admittedly, this has some fans concerned because they're kind of worried that they may change some of the story or some of the characters. Now, personally, I'm hoping they're just referring to the actual art style and to the gameplay. I mean, obviously, the visual art style will receive a major upgrade similar to what we saw from Persona 3 Reload, but yeah, I mean, the story in Persona 4 truly is excellent, and hopefully, just hopefully, they don't mess with it too much. Oh, and we also got a release date for Yooka Replaylee's physical version. Of course, a digital edition will launch later this month on October 9th, and if you already owned the original title, then you can actually upgrade it at a discounted price, which is nice to see, just considering this is years after the original launch. But however, if you don't care for digital and if you don't mind waiting, a physical version will officially launch on December 18th. It'll even come with a few extra items, including a collectible map and an exclusive sticker pack. Though, all of this does come at a higher price. The digital edition will be $30, whereas the physical version will be $50, part because the Switch 2 version actually comes included on cartridge, which is, something that we rarely see, unfortunately. Now, personally, I do feel like they should have priced the PS5 and Xbox version a little bit cheaper. It does kind of feel like Xbox and PlayStation customers are being punished because of Nintendo and, their dumb decisions. But ultimately, Playtonic decided to keep all versions at the same price. All right, now let's go and talk about Xbox Game Pass and what's been happening with its price, because this has been an incredibly frustrating situation for gamers. What was once viewed as the best deal in gaming and just the epitome of what a consumer-friendly option looks like has quickly become the Dark Knight. You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain, and that's, I think, how a lot of the game community is currently viewing Xbox Game Pass. Why did Xbox do all of this, though? Why did they jack up the prices just so significantly and so fast? Because you have to remember, just 13 months ago, Xbox Game Pass Ultimate cost just $17 a month. But in September of 2024, they raised it to $20 a month. And then, of course, now they've raised it to $30 a month. I mean, that's almost double the price that it was just a single year ago, which is absolutely crazy to think about. What's really ironic about both of these price hikes, though, is the timing. In both cases, this happened right before the launch of the next Call of Duty. And that's not by mistake. Interestingly, we now have new information thanks to Bloomberg and their sources. They just posted a big report that claimed that Xbox's price hike on Game Pass revealed the cost of lost Call of Duty sales was more than $300 million across console and PC last year. So, Microsoft wasn't happy about that, and so Microsoft's chief financial officer, Amy Hood, has asked Xbox to find other ways to increase profit, according to the current and former employees. So, yeah, a lot of the price hike seems to be because of Call of Duty's inclusion. Last year, and really even for this year, they tried and are actually still trying to position Game Pass as the go-to place to play Call of Duty, because their entire plan is for Game Pass to get this big boost from Call of Duty's inclusion to more or less recoup whatever they're going to lose in terms of its units sold. Of course, there's also microtransactions and things like that, which, with a lot of extra players from Game Pass, that could help. But however, seemingly, they didn't receive the boost that they wanted to, hence another price hike that will recoup those losses. Here's my thing about all this, though. I think it's understandable that Call of Duty's Game Pass inclusion didn't meet their expectations, just given how massive this franchise is. Not every game is necessarily meant for a day one Game Pass release, and this franchise might just be too big for a $20 month subscription. I think that's fairly reasonable. So, maybe just tell your fans that and either take it out of Game Pass, or if they still want to put it in Game Pass, then just put it in a higher tier on its own. Now, maybe that tier will also include a few other games that don't fit into the cheaper Game Pass model, but for the most part, for everybody else that doesn't care about Call of Duty, they can continue on with a cheaper tier. Instead, it just kind of feels like they're choosing to punish everybody. But what continues to be very interesting about this entire situation is that for years, upon years, Xbox publicly defended Game Pass by claiming that it's profitable, and that even includes its first-party games as well. Now, some people don't believe that, but it's also not necessarily a great idea for a company like Microsoft to lie about things like that, given their big-time investors. So you can believe whatever you want, that's up to you, but at the end of the day, if Call of Duty is the number one issue for this price hike, then I think just remove it from Game Pass. I think most Game Pass subscribers would probably understand that, and they would likely also prefer it as opposed to this significant price hike. Now, if there are some other games that they just can't justify for Game Pass, they would have to explain that as well. But again, we are seeing the aftermath of the Activision Blizzard acquisition. Microsoft's upper management has definitely tightened their reins on Xbox, and small increases are no longer good enough for them. They want more and more and more, given that they spent $70 billion, and that's why we keep seeing these major changes. They will get their return on investment, though I think the question starts to become, at what cost? I mean, Team Xbox might understand the repercussions of some of the things that's been happening, but Microsoft's upper management, which likely doesn't understand gaming all that much, might not understand the long-term damage that they're causing to the brand with some of these decisions. I mean, what do you think about this, though? If Call of Duty truly is the blame for the Game Pass price hike, would you just prefer them to simply remove it from Game Pass or not? Anyways, though, that's going to be it for this episode, but until next time, make sure to subscribe, ring that bell, and peace out.